This is the 2017 Ural Gear Up that I ride, and we've got the sidecar removed. So this is the sidecar side, and we've already taken the cylinder head apart, and you can see what I did to that cylinder. Ugh. So it just got too hot. One of the things we think that happened though is since I have the winch from Caliber Creations on the side, is that it's interfering with the airflow that's coming on this side, and it's not getting enough cooling on this side of the motor, because the other side was just fine. It didn't overheat, but it's the one that isn't interfered with. There's nothing over here for the wind to hit, and it was just fine. The compression's fine, and we may take it apart just to look at it since the engine got so hot, see if there's any damage, but so far it seems to be fine.
You put it backwards or whatever, it works. How do we keep oil from getting all over that stuff?
Wrap it in plastic.
Yeah. Now, because the bike's been here for, there probably is not going to be much oil come off of this, because it's already leaked down into the pump. Yep, I lied. There's still some there. But that's what keeps it off of the exhaust and burning and stinking.
Nice.
When they ran out of inventory of filters at IMWA at one point, they got some other, there's about 4 or 5 different, probably about 8 different manufacturers that makes one that'll spin on and basically the same diameters. But the ones that I ordered a dozen of them. Instead of sending me the IMWA ones, they sent me the other aftermarket ones. And the gasket was skinnier, and I said, nah. So I sent it back to them and said, no, I'll buy, let me know when you get the IMWA ones in. And they didn't let me know fast enough. So I said, heck with it. So I buy these from Amazon. Never use a wrench. There's 2 oil rings, 2 wipers, and then a spacer on there. So there's the wipers. So this thing, because there's always oil being thrown around, the wiper scrapes the oil down from the barrel, and then the compression rings seal the upper section. Otherwise, you'd have too much oil through there.
In the barrel.
And then there's 2 other rings. This is the new stuff. So this one here, there's a little chamfer on it right there. Now you can see it up. There's a little chamfer. And there is a dot right here. Okay?
Okay.
So this is the number 2 ring.
Chamfer and dot is number 2.
Yep. And the chamfer goes down, but rather than being able, many people, I can't tell where it goes. That's why they got the dot in there. So you just very carefully spread it and boom. That's it. And this one doesn't care upside down, right side up. This is it's a newer material. It has some chemical, just like this chemical that they embossed at the top. I don't know what all the details are about it, but it's a much better ring than the older stuff that we were getting. Boom. And there's an arrow on the end. That arrow indicates which way the piston goes in, because this relief here is bigger than this one because the intake valve is bigger. This has to be bigger. So that's why this points toward the exhaust side. On this side, it goes that way. Polished and so on. These are also a chemical infused, just like the Harleys and other sport rigs and so on. So I'm just testing everything to make sure we got a good fit. Or do I need to hone? It's still a little bit tighter than I'd like. Same way we did last time.
Yep.
So there's 2 of these rings, and there's 2 of these guys. There's 2 of these guys. There it is. Now we're going to do the orientation of this.
You put the bottom one on first, usually?
Yeah. Actually, it's more of go from top down type of thing. Because otherwise you got to stretch it over. If I put the first one in, then I got to stretch it even further to get the second one in, and so on and so forth. That's good.
You gotta look for the tapered edge.
Yep.
The white dot.
There's the dot. It goes to the top. Chamfer is at the bottom. You have no idea on the number of freaking Ural mechanic shops where the mechanics call me about, hey, I gotta put a piston in and I don't know which way to. They make some fancy plier kind of thing to kind of spread them a little bit. I like doing it by hand because I can feel better than putting leverage on. So you know, you never want to put the gaps next to each other, but we're not going to orient the gaps until just before we slide the pistons on, or until we slide the barrels on, and that's when I'll change the orientation of this. Okay, this is an extra, by the way. I thought I lost one of the other ones.
Okay, so you've got the clip on one side, now you're putting the...
Yep, I'm putting the pin through.
Pin through, and then it's going to...
Yeah, but the trouble is it's blind to get it started into the
Pull it back more towards you. More towards you. More towards you. More towards you. Keep going. You're not quite there yet. There you go, right there.
Pin right here, center pin. You see this thing rocks, comes forward. So that's where the harness stays out of the way. So I can get access, get down here. Because that points to 12 o'clock on these things. Okay? Because you see there's an angle with the way this fits on. So that's how you make sure you're in the right plane so that this fits perfect again. So now, see, I can sit there and fine tune this to get the 12 o'clock position where it's straight. Because when I slide the barrel over it and I'm pushing, I don't want the whole thing to go slide inside. I want to just push straight back onto the whole package. Normally, you slide pistons in on a V8 engine or 6 or whatever. You slide them in from the top, you compress the rings, slide it into the barrel, and then you put the caps on the crank down below. I can't do that here. So instead, I need to use a ring compressor tool that I can put in between the barrel and the engine. And then it's got to be able to open it to get it out of there, slide the rest of the way in once we've got the rings compressed. So, alright, this is another one where you get messy because you throw lots of oil, you want lots of lubrication. Nothing wants to get stuck. And you notice the way that I do the splits on these, because the piston rocks back and forth, you know, this way. If you had 3 rings, you'd want to have them equidistant around for the different gaps to go in. In this case, it's really only the 2. So just out of, and IMWA doesn't have any necessarily a
how-to best way.
How-to necessarily. What I've been doing for years is I put the intake one back here, because that way any gap and stuff, the heat of the exhaust is going out this way where this ring is, whereas the gap on the second one, to keep the gap out there, the second ring is back over here. So that's just my particular recipe of doing this, so that because in reality the damn they will slide around by their lonesome. They will find a natural spot. So just because I put them this way doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're going to stay. A little bit rusty at some of this because I haven't done one of these in probably about 12 months. So this is what squeezes all those down so the rings are all compressed. Okay? So again, lots of oil.
You guys put a new one of those on?
Yep. This is a brand new one.
Brand new one.
Yeah, we're going to do new pistons and so it should be clean. If it kept fighting me, worst case, I pull the starter off to hold to lock the engine down so it can't rotate.
It's gotta work this
means
time.
more freaking parts I gotta.
It's gotta work this time.
And You don't want to. I want a sudden shock, but I don't want to, to pop it past where the rings are. Moved again. And see, and it moved down enough that the first ring went on. See.
Oh, that's an interesting attach on the other side.
Yep. It's solid. It's there. Oh, you like that, huh?
Ski engineering.
Well, there's. You put one of these in, use the piston to lock it, right? But I want to keep it out. I don't want to keep it tight against that. So that's where I'm using this block to give it a little extra oomph. But now that